This is the math for the balance sheet. In order for the United States to achieve its goal of having a currency that is fully backed by assets, each dollar that is in circulation must be equivalent to a quantifiable quantity of XRP that is held in reserve. Furthermore, because there can never be more than 100 billion XRP in circulation, the price will need to increase at an exponential rate in order to reach a state of equilibrium. Exactly, this is the basis upon which the Great Revaluation is built. The realignment of digital and physical currency on a scale that has never been witnessed before in the history of humanity. Insiders within the Treasury Department have disclosed that the initial stage of this shift has already commenced. According to reports, senior financial institutions such as JP Morgan, Citibank, and Wells Fargo have been given the directive to convert a percentage of their liquidity reserves into XRP using over-the-counter channels. This is being done in order to prevent open markets from being disrupted. In order to protect the confidentiality of these acquisitions, they are being processed through offshore corporations and global liquidity hubs, specifically London, Dubai, and Singapore. In the meantime, Ripple Labs has begun direct consultation with the Treasury Department and the International Monetary Fund in order to design what officials are referring to as the Digital Dollar Liquidity Bridge. This bridge is a settlement layer that will connect the new digital currency issued by the Federal Reserve to the XRP ledger in real time. Without the need for intermediaries, fees, or delays, this bridge will make it possible for central banks, commercial banks, and institutions that operate across international borders to settle their transactions instantly. For more than a decade, Ripple has been working toward the realization of this ultimate vision, which has now been approved by the most influential financial institution in the world. The repercussions are so extreme that they are nearly incomprehensible. XRP has the potential to soon be used for the pricing and settlement of every international trade, every debt instrument, and every government bond transactions. A techno-financial framework that is supported by a digital reserve asset that moves at the speed of light is replacing the entire petrodollar system, which was established on oil and military superiority, but is currently in the process of being replaced. It will no longer be necessary for banks to print more dollars in order to maintain global liquidity. Instead, it will be contingent on the amount of XRP that is available for circulation within the digital reserve system of the Treasury. Because of this, the Treasury Department has secretly designated XRP as a strategic financial commodity, putting it under the same security protocols as uranium and other essential defense technologies. Now, it is not merely a cryptocurrency, rather it is an asset that contributes to national security. There have already been rumors going around that governments from other countries, including as Japan, Switzerland, and Saudi Arabia, are planning to hold revaluation events of their own for their respective countries. The Bank for International Settlements has issued a statement that is strictly confidential, confirming that global settlement systems are currently being synchronized in preparation for a coordinated reset that is due to take place at the beginning of the following fiscal quarter. At the moment when this event is activated, the value of all fiat currencies will be readjusted in relation to the new benchmark price of XRP. Because of this, the value of every currency from the euro to the yen will shift in accordance with the amount of XRP that is held in reserve by each currency. The previous financial system is being dismantled in a controlled manner, and a uniform digital standard is currently being established. When we talk about cold storage wallets, we are referring to a network of wallets, each of which is governed by multi-signature keys and contains billions of XRP. You can literally watch live balance sheets recalibrating in real time, with the overall monetary base of the United States being matched by XRP reserves, according to charts that were discovered in the data that was released. Now, simply give some thought to this. One single XRP, which is now priced at $5 million, would be equivalent to the amount of $5 million in terms of liquidity. All transactions, whether they involve the issuing of debt, trade settlements, or the spending of the government, will be processed without any interruptions under this new system. For all intents and purposes, the velocity of money is equivalent to the velocity of light. Also, you should know that though the mainstream financial media will most likely spend the next few weeks debating whether or not any of this is really conceivable, those who have a deep understanding of how the system operates are already aware of one thing: the revaluation is unavoidable. The mathematical limit of fiat currencies has been reached, inflation has thoroughly undermined faith, and central banks, to tell you the truth, have exhausted all of their available firepower. Therefore, in order to reset the system without, triggering a collapse, a new base layer is required. This new base layer must be decentralized, instantaneous, and trustless. This new base layer is XRP, and it is the foundation of the big monetary revaluation. So, what transpires after this? Executive briefings, pronouncements from the central bank, and, well, silent accumulation are all things that you can anticipate happening over the next few months. The Treasury Department will continue to deny any direct involvement in the market, despite the fact that its wallet is addressing inflated with assets that have not been revealed. From testing between banks to retail settlement, the digital dollar pilot program is going to expand in the near future. And then, without any prior notice, the Treasury Department will publish the formal revaluation notice, which is a document that defines the new collateral ratio of XRP to USD. This will take place on a Friday night after the markets have closed. As the world awakens the following morning, it will be confronted with a different financial reality. One XRP that is worth $5 million, the digital scarcity that gave rise to a new dollar. There is a new benchmark for power, trust, and reliability. It is not speculation or theory. Rather, this is the beginning of the biggest monetary revaluation that has ever taken place, and it has already started. I hereby defer. It is important to keep in mind that I am not a licensed financial counselor. The content that is displayed in these videos is solely intended for the purpose of providing amusement. Before making any decisions regarding their finances, I always recommend viewers to do their own study and seek the advice of professionals. Many thanks for taking the time to listen. I would appreciate it if you could give the video a thumbs up and then make sure to hit the subscribe button if you found it entertaining. When you want to be the first to know, you need also make sure that the notifications are turned on. I am looking forward to catching up with you in the next video for the new stuff that I will be releasing. Take care of yourself. The most astonishing financial revelation in the history of modern times was just made by the United States Treasury, something of such enormous proportions that it could completely reorganize the entire global financial system by itself. Even though the mainstream media is still trying to make sense of what took place, those who are on the inside are already referring to it as the Great Monetary Revaluation. The United States Treasury Department has made the official announcement that the next version of the United States dollar, which has been rumored for a long time, will be entirely backed by XRP reserves, matching them 1-to-1. That's right, the world's reserve currency is transitioning back to an asset-backed system for the very first time since 1971. However, gold, oil, and real estate are not included. This is XRP. In addition, the calculations made by the internal Treasury Department indicate that in order to keep the backing ratio in line with the total monetary base of the United States, the price of XRP must be approximately $5 million per coin. This is not a matter of conjecture, rather, it is complete mathematics. This morning, when the Secretary of the Treasury appeared before Congress, the atmosphere in the room became charged with electricity. Each and every seat was occupied, each and every camera was shooting, and each and every whisper contained a single question: why XRP? The Secretary explained that after a classified audit of the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve and the international debt markets that lasted for an entire year, it became abundantly clear that no traditional asset could provide the liquidity, scalability, and instantaneous global settlement that is required to stabilize the dollar in the new digital economy. The only cryptocurrency that possessed the technology, decentralization, and ability to bridge fiat currencies and tokenized assets at scale was XRP. Gold was too sluggish, oil was too volatile, and Bitcoin was too energy intensive. There was no other cryptocurrency that could do this. In other words, XRP was not merely selected, rather it was the sole candidate that could be considered. The beginning of a new age was so marked, the re-equilibrium of the global financial system to the digital asset that is of the highest efficiency in the world. There was a silent signing of an executive order into law that took place behind closed doors. A comprehensive reorganization of the American monetary base is outlined in the document, which bears the seal of the United States Treasury and is referred to as Executive Directive 14-099, also known as the Digital Reserve Act. As stated in Section 3.1, the United States of America is required to build a strategic reserve of digital settlement assets, and this requirement will take effect immediately. The United States dollar will be backed by XRP, which will serve as the major digital reserve asset. According to analysts, this directive is similar to Executive Order 6102, which was issued in 1933 and involved the government revaluing gold in order to stabilize the economy after the Great Depression. The difference is that the government will now be accumulating XRP through private purchases, agreements, international swaps, and